I'm Dave D, and you're watching XP Team USA.
Sorry, it's DJ.
I think this is what people think, or a toy shop. A little bit cool about the situation. I think you actually been involved with the whole thing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday, it's 8 o'clock, and it's the big Detecting TV show. Hope you're all well this evening. We'll be joined shortly by this week's guest, Mr. Tony Kaywood, and we'll be looking at all sorts from genealogy to LIDAR to tithe maps to everything in between. Good evening to everybody already in the chat rooms, both on YouTube at Reality of Metal Detecting UK Dirt Fishing, and also on our social media accounts. I'm chuckling because Nick West put a classic one on. Nick West, he currently resides in Spain due to the lockdown, and he's put, my research was so bad I turned on at 8, but I'm in Spain and an hour ahead of the UK. Well done to Nick. Well, we're back, and I don't mean we, I mean metal detecting. Laws were relaxed yesterday, and metal detectorists throughout England, not Scotland and Wales as yet, but throughout England, were able to pop off and go metal detecting, and we've got an abundance of fines. So much so we're going to be going through one of our threads on the big metal detecting TV show Facebook group, and we'll have a look at them shortly. As I say, lockdown, they're allowing us to go out. We're allowed to do what we want a little bit more. Metal detecting, thankfully, falls into the remit, and as I say, lots of people have been out. One thing I thought a bit of an arse about, though, is these groups organising big metal detecting rallies already. Hello. One-on-one, 2 people going, 2 people from the same household, 2 people keeping a socially distancing from each other, not a big group going on a metal detecting rally. We all want to get out, but let's do it nicely. As we've been saying for weeks, the artifacts are still in the ground, as we'll see shortly. They can stay there, they can wait. Let's not go ballistics, let's not try to make heap loads of money. Anyway, rant's over. So, let's go and have a look at them. I'm going to share the screen and wait a couple of moments, and we're on. So, as you can see, I'm on our Facebook page. And first up was Gary Finnan with a number of bits and bobs, some coins, buttons. That's a nice one. Very nice indeed. Well done, Gary. Lovely. Gary again. Some close-ups of his coins. I'll go through these quite quick. Now this one by Leif Stimpson I thought was absolutely beautiful. Can somebody tell me, am I wrong, is this a Roman penannular brooch? I think that's the correct term for it. It's absolutely stunning. Moving on. Desborough. number of bits and bobs. Steve Petterkin went out in... Oh, no, he didn't, because he's in Wales. Sorry, Stephen. Ian Jackson. Now, Ian's put on a number of coins. And this one was a silver coin. And it's a South African 1986 2 shillings. Look that up for him on New Mister. And then this little beauty. Lizzie Ahmed. So, can we say what the type is? Beautiful. This one he couldn't see much of. And a Bell Fruit token. Kim and Scotty DeBay.
Apologies, Dave. We've got no screen share, mate.
Okie dokie. Let's try again. So we're just trying again with the screen share. And away we go. So we go back up. Let's go to Ian Jackson's Lizzie. Unfortunately, that with the screen share, it's out of my control. All I can see at this point is what I'm looking at, because I'm obviously on here. Sorry, just showed you that one. So thanks for Luke for popping in. Can anyone tell me what type of Lizzie that is? Please. Kim and Scotty. Scotty, I think, pulled it out the pan with that the zip. Duncan Wappet. And again. And another lovely little piece. Sorry I'm rushing through this. Obviously, we need to get on with the show, but in the meantime, Dan Garrett, ace. Few Romans, delightful. Scotty B's nothing. Wendy Howard, first seal. Hopefully she'll be able to show us the imprint of that. And Dean Stainson's got nothing too. So that's that. Stop the screen sharing. And I think we'll have one of them. Find of the week from now on. So there's the Find of the Week trophy. I'm not going to send it to you. It can stay here on your behalf. But we will send you an Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine iron-on patch. So I'm thinking it's Dan Garrett Ace and Leif Stimpson are this week's winners of them, our first week competition of that variety. So I'll speak to Leif and to who was it again, sorry, Dan Garrett, and get your contact details, and we'll get a iron-on patch in the post to you. So moving on, let's get our guest on this evening, Mr. Tony Kaywood. How are you, Tony?
I'm absolutely fine, Dave. How are you?
I'm okay. Nice to see you, young man.
Nice to be seen after 7 weeks of being stuck in the house.
Adult conversation.
Really? No, can't.
All right. I meant me, not you.
No, that's fine.
So how's the lockdown been treating you?
To be honest, office job, sent home to work from home, same as the wife. My eldest, who moved out last summer, we moved him back in, so we're all together. We've been a lot luckier than many people. Been all right so far. I've not been able to get out and not seen, things like that. But yeah, I could complain, but it'd be pointless. And I'm better off than most people.
Now, obviously, Tony, you can't see this, but other people can. When you're on full screen, we're pixelating, as we found at the start of the show. So we may have some form of Wi-Fi interference somewhere. Obviously, everybody's on Tinterweb at the moment, and all is not great as we now doing the podcast version as a downloaded audio file as opposed to live. So apologies for Tony's pixelation. We're going to call him PC instead of TC. So
it could just be my normal look, it's probably
The
the reason why I
big
don't appear on camera that often.
So, Tony, for people who've never met you before and never heard of your channel and such like before, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you will.
Yeah, okay, so Tony Kaywood, as already mentioned, I've been metal detecting for all of nearly 3 years, so I'm a complete newbie in the scheme of things, but passionate about the hobby, passionate about history, have the channel TC Detects. I'm lucky to be part of Team Routers UK, hence the cap and the t-shirt and the Routers detector that you'll see on almost all of my videos. So yeah, very happy that I found the hobby when I did. It's great to be outdoors from an exercise point of view, great from a mental health point of view as well. I know a lot of people find that. And I guess the reason for my YouTube channel is that I always like to sort of share help, knowledge, experience, and anything with other people in the hobby.
That's a good granddad look, that one, Tony.
Well, I'm now in my early 50s, so I guess I'm prime real estate from a metal detecting point of view. That is a particularly good look, and I chose it specifically for the webpage that people could have a good laugh at my expense.
Yeah, sadly, I'm younger than you and I'm a granddad. There we go.
I'm not there yet, fortunately, so you've beaten me on that stakes at least.
So, you've become a member of Team Routers as seen on that page. How did that come about and why the use of the routers?
Well, I like many, I guess, I got into detecting through the TV show Detectorists. My other hobby is screenwriting, so somebody recommended the show and said the writing's phenomenal, it's really funny, which I think most people will agree it is phenomenally well written. And when I was a kid, I used to go digging for bottles in Victorian rubbish dumps. So I've always had that sort of historical bent. Sort of skipped it for like 30 years. Saw the Detectorist show, thought that sounds like a hobby I could maybe have a go with. Bought a Chinese detector, got my first permission. Within about 3 hours, I think I was completely and utterly hooked. And then came I guess the next big decision: what first proper detector do I buy? What's my first non-Chinese eBay special? And after researching, watching a lot of videos, doing comparisons of features and benefits and all those sort of good things, the routers appealed because it looked like it was one of those ones where I could turn it on, get going with, but then have longevity because I could play with all the settings. I'm as a typical geek technology gadget boy. It was never going to be long before I started playing with all the settings, and the routers is so customizable. It was just an obvious choice, which I've been happy with ever since. I also got an Equinox 600, which I consider my spare backup machine. And the routers goes with me everywhere, really. And I think because of that and the previous videos that I was putting out, primarily because the brand is relatively was relatively niche, I thought it'd be useful to expose the brand to British detectorists because there wasn't very many British Auto 71 channels out there. And that got me the invite to Team Routers when Routers were looking to set up something that would establish them over here and help get the brand out there and get some brand advocacy going.
Mm-hmm. Now, everybody knows I have a routers, excuse me, which I'm not the greatest at understanding things. So people know that I generally say that I use Tony Kaywood's settings and Adrian Gaylor's in reserve. So you are Tony Kaywood. So thank you very much for your settings, which are all available from all the team members via the Team Routers UK app and website. Am I correct?
That's correct. On the news and resources page, you will find the normal routers manual, but you'll also find a PDF with my settings and a few other selected routers users on there, so you can go and use our settings and see how you get on with them.
Marvelous. So your YouTube channel is TC Detect.
Correct. Yes, indeed. In the sort of mid 500s from a subscriber point of view. About 100 videos now. And I established it originally so that I could share my knowledge. So you'll see a lot of sharing settings on there, what's the videos of the screen and the signal and what is underneath it. There's also a lot of research videos on there as well, where again I'm trying to share knowledge and help other detectorists, be they experienced or newbies. I figure if I've learned something, it might be useful for someone else, so I might as well share it.
Fantastic. And it's a good site because obviously while we've been in lockdown, you've been making some more informative videos in the sense of helping people understand different areas, which you're going to carry on tonight.
Yeah, definitely. When I thought about what was going to go on in lockdown, and I quickly realised through a few of the other YouTubers that I was never going to compete with Aaron's Dirtbox or Dino's hijinks. I figured I'd probably err on the side of sensible and research pieces and try and educate rather than entertain. There was plenty of that going on lots of the other YouTube channels and live streams with the debates, etc. So I had a great time during lockdown with everyone else, but I figured I'd put my effort into trying to help those who were stuck at home with their research efforts, really, on their existing commissions or new commissions.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward greatly. I mean, I've got an idea, I've got a bit. I've done a lot of historical research for a number of years, but some of the things that we're going to be looking at tonight, I have not touched in any way, shape, or form because I've not had the time or the inclination, to be honest, because I'm busy with other things. So I'm looking forward to learning all about what you've got in mind tonight. Before we do, you've got one more little thing to mention, and that was your last hunt before lockdown when you had a nice little free coins pop up.
Indeed, yeah, typical fashion. I was on my biggest arable commission and was wandering across the largest field when on the way to the place I wanted to start detecting that night, I got a good signal, which turned out to be the first of three hammered coins, two Eddie pennies, and an Eddie the third penny as well, all within the space of about 3 hours and within a few hundred yards of each other. So an area of land that I'd previously considered relatively well, I'd walked past it because it was too near the car mentally. I don't know why I thought that, just because it was near the car where I parked. And of course, hat-trick of hammers, and literally the following, the day after, lockdown came on, and now I can't get back on that land until August because it's now under crop again. If I share screen, let's see if this will let me share screen, see if I can get the technology to work on mine. So somebody might need to let me know if that's working.
So we're going to share the screen now. So look what's on Tony's computer. Browser history.
Complete. Yeah. I've already cleared it. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm not sure if people can see my page there. Theoretically sharing.
Not seeing anything yet. As I say, with the broadband issues at the moment, it does struggle, as we learned at the start of the show from my own attempt to one of your little pixelated little images came up a moment ago and you stalled looking like the Joker, which was quite amusing.
That's good. Always interesting. Let's see if we can get this to work.
Well, I've been
Better now? Can we send us here?
Are we happening? There we go. Lovely. And you've had one new subscriber to your channel while we've been speaking as well.
That's not bad, is it?
All right.
So those are the three.
Which is which then, so?
Oh, now you're asking. Yeah, I can't remember which one's which. They were identified by people who are much better with hammies than I am, so I don't find that many. I think that one day sort of doubled my haul for hammies, and certainly haven't in one session was a little bit special. And of course, typically, then we went into lockdown.
So let's move on, and we'll. Where do you want to start with our factual learning tonight? Which area do you want to look at first? I'm handing it all over to you. You're doing the sharing. You're the one with the knowledge. You tell me what you want to do.
Okay, then. So maybe if we start sort of at the point where I got to with start of lockdown. So the first thing I did when I sort of got through lockdown and worked out that I was going to do some research videos was to look back at the one that I'd found particularly useful from a research point of view and great from a history point of view, which was the tithe map information, which some people are aware of, some people aren't. I don't profess to be an expert in any way, shape or form with how tithe maps came about and those sort of things, but certainly getting used to using them now and certainly finding my way around them. So I thought when I started the research videos, I thought, well, if I start with the tithe maps because they're interesting and I've got a big arable permission that I've only partially looked at on the tithe maps. The tithe maps themselves, as some people will know, are held locally by local councils. They're also held down at the National Archives in Kew, but they're also online with a site called The Genealogist, who have digitised everything that the National Archives have online. So I spoke to the genealogist at the time and said, so I'm planning to do this. The genealogist are a paid website, commercial website. So I asked them whether or not they'd be interested in sort of a subscription offer for detectorists as well, and that's how I started the conversation with them about what they had available and how I could take advantage of it and use it for detectorists from that point of view, because that I thought would give us a good opportunity to for other detectorists to use that at a really cost-effective rate compared to their normal sort of charging, as it were. Let me just share screen again. I'll try. Hope there's somebody available on serious. Can you see a large map?
Yes, indeed. The township of.
So this is Stirlingfleet is the one above it. The one in the middle, the map is a place called Kelfield. It's near York, where I have a permission. So that so part of those fields are my permission. So on there, what you've got is a map that was drawn up in the 1830s and 40s. And what it does is it maps every parcel of land in that area, in this particular case, the township of Kelfield, and it records on here. It gives every single parcel of land a little number. Each one of those numbers relates specifically to a parcel of that land, and then on what they call the tithe apportionment, which I'll show you here. So on the tithe apportionment, which are all on the detailed video, it's on my channel, please go look at it, it's great. What you'll find is a little number here. I'm hoping that you can see still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this number here where it says 490, that's the number of the field that corresponds here on that particular map. And then at the side you've got a description, usually a field name. In this case, it's a description of what's in those two little packets of land. The advantage of tithe maps is they go back earlier than most useful scale maps, certainly slightly earlier than the earliest OS maps. And because they give you the parcel numbers for each piece of land, you can then go to the tithe apportionment and look up the name of that land, who owned it, and its use, which in and of itself can then give you clues to whether or not that would be an interesting piece of land to detect on. Particularly useful if you've got a large permission to know where to go first or where to focus first. you can see something that's interesting.
Very, very.
So, for those who have already checked it out on the YouTube channel on TC Detect, there is a video that goes through tithe maps in a reasonably good level of detail. So, how you use the maps, how you use the genealogies website, how you connect that to the tithe apportionment, and then how you use that on your own research to go and find the juicy bits of information about your permission, because most modern maps and all the OS maps don't actually have field names on them. So between the tithe maps and your landowner are the two probably best sources of information for field names, which can be illustrative and helpful for a detectorist who's doing research on the land, especially if you're stuck in lockdown, you can't actually go and visit the land.
Now you've actually progressed a little bit more to my knowledge of tithe maps. The number point is a lot different. Sorry, the number point I didn't realise corresponded to some written. So I'm going to have to get deeper into that. Luke, I'm going to share the screen myself now. So we're going to look at Cheshire Tithe Maps online. I'm based in Cheshire, and the Tithe Maps is Tony. Can you? Oh no, there it is. Where we are now. So this is my Tithe Maps online. Now, there's my house. If you can see the arrow on the right-hand side. So this overlays. So if I move over, there's where my house would have been in 1841, or actually was because it was built then. This shows a hall at the back of my house, which is now a housing estate, and it was a cardboard factory in between. And this is the old lane, Tommy's Lane, which was named after the landowner, and William Street, which was renamed after a secondary landowner. And there's the church, which is still there, as you'll see. So I didn't realise the likes of 304 and 305 would correspond to something else. So I'm going to have to look into that, methinks. But on this
there was
sorry, carry on.
Yeah, there's for every tithe map, there's another document called the tithe apportionment list, which then documents each of those parcels of land, who owned the land, who worked the land, and what it was used for. Yeah. So the combination of those two pieces of information will give you, a really good look at 200 years ago what the land was being used for.
Well, this is the Cheshire East tithe maps, as I say, but we've also got your latest Ordnance Survey, aerial imagery from 2015 to 17, 2010, 1999, 2003, 1971. Look at that. That was the cardboard factory that I mentioned. But then we've also got the old maps, which are also on here, which, again, a very, very valuable commodity. 1910, 1989, sorry, 1898, and 1875. So, So
you're lucky, Dave, because your area put a lot of work into a local view. Not all have, but they're very similar to the side-by-side maps on the National Library of Scotland site. They look fantastic, mate.
So these maps, as I say, on this particular site, one of the permissions that I've got, it goes back, tithe maps. That one that we were looking at was 1836. The ones on the site that I use is goes back to around, I think it's in the 1600s. So you've got multiple tithe maps, which you can just stay in one spot on the map, and then obviously put a different overlay for different tithe maps to see any difference of the pathways, roadways, etc., etc. So a valuable commodity, Tony. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And those differences and tracing the differences is one of the best things with those sort of resources. There is spotting the things that are either changed or disappeared, in particular, that aren't on the modern maps.
Well, as I say, you've already given me one piece of information which I've wrote down, and that's utilising the figures correspond to more information which you've obviously showed us. So, very much for that.
No worries. And the Cheshire Archives will have those tithe apportionments. They might not put them online, but they will have them.
Yeah.
And when you're out of lockdown and allowed to go back to those sort of places, you can usually go and make an appointment and go and actually look at the actual physical apportionments and held there.
Wrote it all down. Look at me go. I'll be on that tomorrow. Anything else regarding tithe maps, Tone?
Well, I think one of the things, and I'll try and show you on here. Am I screen sharing again? Is it?
Yes, you're on.
Right. So hopefully you can see. Hopefully you can see two maps there. You've got the top one, which is a modern day satellite image of one of my fields, very long, thin field with not a lot to it. Gets flooded a lot. Then on the bottom you can see a LIDAR map of the field. I'm going to hover over a little shadowy area here that looks like a path or a trackway. You can't see on the modern map, or isn't clearly a feature on the modern map. I saw that on the LIDAR map and then consulted back to the tithe map to see what I could find, and that feature doesn't appear on any modern map or any OS map. So going back to about 1870, 1880, that feature is not present. But on the tithe map that we were looking at before, this is the same field, and these two parcels of land here, they don't exist as a field anymore. They're just being swallowed by the main field.
Yeah.
That pathway is here on the LIDAR map. So combining the LIDAR clue that there's a pathway here that doesn't exist anymore, and then looking at the tithe map and these two parcels of land connected to this little piece of information. So 200 years ago, there was an old house, outbuildings, an orchard here. So they represent some outbuildings and an orchard. The pathway that was shown on the LIDAR would have been here. When I went then to detect on there, and this was when I first started detecting, first started using the research tools that were available, that field, which had been relatively unproductive, not a lot on it, but quite quiet, there, I think I winkled out 17 coins on my first 3 hours of looking in that area. Wow. Because of the clues provided by the maps, tithe map and LIDAR, bringing all the information together, gave me a hot spot to go and aim at. And as per the map, then the coins started coming out, including my very first silver coin.
You see, I would have asked automatically, normally being myself, the edge of that parcel of land, the square, could it have not been that was a what you're saying is a pathway? Could that not be the edge of that? Like fence line or something? It's
easy to
make out that no. That line there, could that not have been the wrong face? There you go. That line where your arrow is now that goes up and to the left a little bit. Could that pathway not represent that? Sorry,
what that you one?
Would. Yeah. Where you would say no to the left. Between 429 and 430, that line there that you're on now, would that not correspond with what you're saying, the pathway on the LIDAR? Is that not the same sort? Because it sort of looked the same angle on the LIDAR.
So on the LIDAR, you've got two things visible around. So mapping the LIDAR back to those two squares. So those two squares are sort of here.
Right.
So you've got that to the right of them.
Right. So that line there isn't the line at the edge of 429 to 430.
Here, you mean?
Yes.
It's about here.
Right.
Trying to map. I mean, obviously the maps are at slightly different angles and slightly different scales, but it's about here rather than over here.
Right.
So it corresponds to roughly where there could have been a pathway, and would explain why in the middle of an otherwise blank field, where there's no other indication of etc., there was something visible as a feature. And sometimes you'll see pathways, in particular pathways are a good one for LIDAR, where because they've been used for a long time, they can show up on LIDAR but have lost their footpath status, so they're no longer, you'll see on a modern map. I mean, and sometimes, obviously, if you find a footpath that is there now that was there then, you'll see it on the LIDAR as well, usually, just because of the way LIDAR works and the information and sort of features of the land it gives you. And in this particular case, sort of combining those clues led to a productive session on an area that I would have got to eventually, but on a 250 acre farm, it would have taken a while to get that to that particular piece of land. It's
So
great for sort of identifying potential hotspots.
Yeah. So at least LIDAR markings have given you an area to metal detect which has been successful, suggesting that LIDAR is an appropriate tool for this.
Well, it's definitely a tool that you should add to your kit bag for where your permissions have LIDAR. If you touch on LIDAR for a minute, you can see on screen now this bottom right hand corner where there's no LIDAR.
Yeah.
That's because the LIDAR scan, for whatever reason, didn't cover that piece of land.
Yeah.
So depending on how lucky you are, you might find your permission is like this and it has LIDAR on it. You might find that it hasn't. It's not the default look. For those, get to my LIDAR one. So for some of the audience tonight, this will be a bit.
Tony, can I just, if we come back to this momentarily, we're going to have a short
Yes, I
break
can.
now. And we'll come back. Obviously, it's a good place to come back to and start. So we've got to take a few minutes to have some adverts and have a drink and what have you. So we'll speak
Good plan.
momentarily.
I'm Dave D, and you're watching XP Team USA.
And you've just caught me having a look at LIDAR. Yeah, I've not really looked at LIDAR before, Tone, but I've just toddled on over to lidarfinder.com, and obviously can allow us to know where you are. It allowed me, went straight to my house, and just looking at the fields locally, and there's some nice lumps and bumps. You can see there's a hill and what have you, where the hill is. You can see the terrain brilliantly. It's actually bizarre because where I thought that field ends, it only narrows and goes onto an even bigger field behind. So didn't realise that. Oh, and look at that. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. That can wait till tomorrow. Sorry, Tony. Where were we anyway?
We were, I think, let me go back to where I was. Hopefully people can see this picture, which is of how LIDAR is captured. I'd like to say this is my own art here, however, I've been Googling furiously this afternoon and screen grabbing pictures. So LIDAR in essence is a laser survey of the land carried out by aircrafts and sometimes drones, and then coordinated using GPS to create a picture of the ground underneath, which is what you found on LIDAR Finder, Dave, an aerial survey of your land as done by laser. What you will see on LIDAR Finder and others is that there are two types of LIDAR done. One is DSM, digital surface model, and the other one is digital terrain model. The surface model is the one you want to avoid because that's the one that picks up all the buildings. So that will pick up the tops of trees and tops of buildings and all those sort of things, whereas digital terrain model will actually pick up the ground underneath. I use some clever filtering to get to the ground even when there's buildings on it or trees, etc. That or it's black magic, I'm not sure which, but doesn't really matter as long as you're looking at the DTM layer on any LIDAR information, you'll get to the right bit. And here's an example. So again, good old Google. So here on the left, you've got the digital surface model, so you can see the tops of buildings and trees and bushes and all that. Yeah. And then the same area on the digital terrain model, which has removed all of those and just shows you what's underneath. So it allows you to see, in essence, through all the existing pieces to see what the ground underneath has got. So wherever you've got LIDAR access, DTM is the layer you want to look at. And here is a great example from the University of Essex of why LIDAR is so good. On the right, you can see a light image of an area where all you can see is a field and a load of trees. On the LIDAR, you can see in the square area inside the arrows, it looks like a hill fort of some description, potentially Roman, potentially medieval, which is completely invisible to the naked eye because it's covered by trees. Yeah. However, LIDAR shows it up really well. Yeah. So this is why LIDAR is so useful for archaeologists in particular, but metal detectorists too, because obviously we're looking for the same information when it comes to our permissions and where to go and look at. So it's a great example of how something that's utterly invisible normally is completely visible on LIDAR.
And obviously LIDAR has been in the news on multiple occasions of late. It discovered unknown temples in South America. It discovered the Knights Templar stronghold in Accra. And only yesterday there were reports on how an unknown Roman fortress was discovered by people, playing around with LIDAR. Exactly what you've been doing, exactly what we're going to be doing in the lockdown. Just found
that might be this example, actually, Dave.
Yeah, the University of Exeter team. Yes, looks like the same one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's been more than that, according to the article. It's now been used to find 30 prehistoric or large Roman embanked settlement enclosures, around 20 prehistoric burial mounds, as well as hundreds of medieval farms, field systems, and quarries. So,
absolutely.
And this initially was used, I think, am I right in saying it was some form of NASA invention to do something?
Yeah, I think originally, but I'm not sure what NASA exactly used it for. Probably playing with technology for the sake of it, maybe spying on Americans, who knows. Over here, the Environment Agency use it, and it's the Environment Agency data that tends to populate most of the LIDAR information for Great Britain. I believe they announced last year that they're going to do another survey, but I'm not sure where that is at the minute due to lockdown and those sort of things. But I think we're going to use better technology to get better coverage, better imagery, and try and get some of the places that are currently gaps done as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully, as we go forward, we'll get even better lidar than we do already. But yeah, it's massively useful
Oh yeah.
for detectorists and archaeologists.
I'm just having a bit of peruse on the Tinterweb while we're chatting, and the
Mm-hmm.
history of it, actually quite profound, quite gobsmacking. It was the Hughes Aircraft Company introduced the first LIDAR system in 1961, shortly
Wow.
after the invention of the laser. Thereafter, obviously all the colliders and such like, but the first applications came in meteorology, where the National Centre for Atmospheric Research use it to measure clouds and pollution. So it's been going oddly some time. You wouldn't necessarily believe that, would you?
No, and I think it's probably because the public availability of it rather than commercial usage of it is relatively modern. So the fact that it's available online for the UK, I don't think goes back that far, even though the data has probably been sitting in, commercial farms and with commercial organisations for a while. I think the fact that we've got access to it, 'cause I know not all countries have. I think we're lucky from that point of view that we have such immediate access to it, and they on multiple websites now. I think you mentioned LIDAR finder.com, which is one of the main ones, but the side-by-side maps on the National Library of Scotland now have LIDAR on them as well as one of the layers that you can put on, which is fantastic because you can move the side-by-side piece backwards and forwards over the area to see it against a modern map or an old map as well. So that's a fantastic tool what they've added to that recently. And also the subject of a TC Detect video.
Dominic Tomczyk, apologies because I'm bound to get that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm like. He asks, is there a LiDAR app on a phone? I've just had a little bit of a Google. But basically, Dominic, just pull it up on Google on your phone. I can't see an app per se, but...
No, I don't think there's a specific app, but I think you can go to the same website and use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyrone Leach, can LiDAR be used in caves? Need it for his Leversaw treasure project? Yes, I'm pretty sure it can. I'm pretty sure I've seen an episode of something where they were looking at Pictish caves in Scotland, and they'd done a LiDAR scan within the cave itself. And I'm also pretty sure they've done something not dissimilar in one of the first shafts in the Curse of Oak Island as well, an underwater mapping system not dissimilar. So I think it can, Tyrone. I think it can.
I think that sounds right, Dave. Because I'm sure that some of the tithe mapping, so maybe not on LiDAR finder, but some of the commercial stuff can be done using drones as well. So as long as you can get a drone into it, and into the cave, and I would assume there is some way of using the laser in a similar fashion.
Now, the one I saw, there was a tripod, and it had a piece of equipment on top, and the piece of equipment span. And when it span, it obviously shot out lasers all over the place, and the lasers were recording the data to the laptop, and obviously it was then processed into the final product.
Sounds about right.
I'm pretty sure it's not dissimilar also to what I can't remember what his name was, and I do apologise. One of our guests a few months ago who was a diver, and he was doing some. Well, Luke's pulled up on screen there. Use underwater LiDAR for cave mapping. So yeah, that was, if I remember correctly, that would spin around, it rotate, the angle would move, and that would fire multiple lasers onto the cave, the walls of the cave. And I'm pretty sure, again, that some of these caves, they were actually coming up with rock art that couldn't be seen to the naked eye until it was shown by the mapping system that it actually existed. And then obviously thereafter it was they were able to photograph it in a different manner, and you could see it a certain way. So the answer to that, Tyrone, is yes. Sorry, Mark says that he was referring to an actual application without confusing. I are we talking? What we talking about now? Where are we? Remind me what the question was, please, Mark, and we'll come back to that momentarily. Luke's pulling something else again up, and that's some of the cave scanning that has been doing. This laser scanning was the cradle of humankind in South Africa. So this was a caving system that is that in the Hotel Cederberg Mountains in South Africa. Rising Star Cave System, which is supposed to be one of the oldest places on Earth for human activity or Neanderthal or intelligent being that isn't dinosaurs and such like, let's say. So there is some fantastic technology. I don't know how you'd be able to get hold of that, Tyrone, if it would be a case of including the information that you see or contacting one of the specialists in the subject and be able to use it in that sense. Someone asked if there's an app, it's only online referring to LIDAR. Yeah, I think that's the case, Mark. So where are we up to next, Tone?
Yeah, so I mean that's the basics of LIDAR. So obviously, on your own permissions, go and have a look at the maps. I put together a little document of links of the stuff we've been talking about tonight, and put it on the Team Routers website on the News and Resources Centre. So there's three sort of active UK LIDAR resources that I use. So it's LIDAR Finder that you mentioned, Dave. There's a house prices LIDAR. Why it's got anything to do with house prices, I'm not sure. And there's the open data LIDAR as well. And like I said, the National Library of Scotland have added it onto their side-by-side map as a layer as well. Not on screen because I only added it about half an hour ago. There is a fantastic, for those who are interested in LIDAR, the history of LIDAR, how it's used for archaeology, I think English Heritage have I think it's like 100-page PDF online, which I've also added to the links on here. So for those who want to see how it's used for archaeology and farming and those sort of things, and the history of it, and more about the technology at a more expert level than I am, that link's on there as well. So that PDF that you can download for free and have a look through. Like I said, it's 100 pages, but it's a fantastic resource. There's some fantastic examples of LIDAR, usage versus those new maps and those sort of things. It's a great one to have online for when you're bored or you're locked down or you can't get to your permission.
I actually, because I'm on the computer, I actually screenshot that then and put it directly onto Paint and saved the image. So I've got that.
Cool. Well, there's the other useful links on there.
You shouldn't have actually shown me this now, because on my greatest and grandest of permissions, my favourite permission of them all, I've just put the location in, and it gives me a whole new view of what I've been looking at previously. And I tell you what, Tony, there's lumps and bumps and odd peculiarities throughout that area that I would not have even realised, and it's actually, some of the depressions are quite uniformed, and it gives me something in particular to go and look at that normally I just go around the field generally haphazardly in parts depending on the mood I'm in, but it's given me several areas that I need to concentrate on. So yeah, LIDAR, I'm liking it.
That's what the archaeologists use as well. I'm a member of a few archaeology Facebook groups, and the amount of times the archaeologists, the amateur archaeologists as well, post up LIDAR images of places near them. Does anybody know what this is, or do you think this is a Roman villa or a roundhouse or something like that? Just most places are covered by LIDAR gives everybody the opportunity to go and investigate and see if it shows them anything that, like you said, uniform shapes or anything that would suggest previous historical usage of the land that's no longer visible at all.
Now, Tony, you mentioned the genealogist earlier, and I know I'm bumping forward a little bit, but some people, you know, might disappear after an hour or so. Just to get it in, can you tell us about the genealogist? And well, there's all the information. What have you concocted along with the genealogist?
Yeah, well, like I said at the beginning, so when I decided that I was going to do some research videos during lockdown rather than build a dirt box or anything like that, I thought one of the most useful pieces of information I'd found outside of LIDAR was the tide maps for all the reasons we've mentioned before. But of course, not all areas. Yours seems to have done, David Chester, but not all areas have put their tide maps online. So mine, for example, they're not available online. I'm during lockdown. I can't get to the archives to look at the information that's there. And even if you can, not everybody wants to go look at the old archive, sit down, scanning over massive documents that you need to make an appointment for. So the genealogists have everything digitised that's available at the National Archives. So I thought, well, I'll speak to them about whether or not they do a special subscription offer just for the detecting community, which is, you know, backwards and forwards a couple of times. That's what we sort of hammered out a deal that gave a really good price. I think it's the best price they've done for a 4-month subscription because it's behind their paywall, as you would expect with these things. But the subscription for those who are interested in such things gives 4-month access for about £10 a month or something like that. Which I thought, given I was going to be doing it anyway, I thought that might be useful to the detecting community, and they were very supportive of they'll be having a subscription offer that was available for any and all interested detectorists. It also gives you all the access to the other resources that are on the genealogist website, which I've not really played with, but if you're into genealogy, you ever wanted to do a family tree or look at the history of your area, they've got tons and tons and tons of information, as well as all the tide information as well. So it looked like it represented a good deal in terms of sort of value for money and uniquely for our community, which I thought would be helpful going up there.
Wow. I like the landowner records within that package as well that the genealogist do. That gives a lot of information.
Yeah, and they're adding to it all the time as well. So almost every month there's something new gets added, digitised. The tide map information is getting added to their map explorer, which makes it easy to navigate around as well. So like every month there's a couple of new pieces of information added to the map explorer view, which makes it easy to have a look at things.
Sadly, when you shared that, the stop sharing at the bottom of the screen was covering the website address to learn more. So what is the website? It says details at Team Routers, so we don't know if there's anything there after .uk.
Yes, www.teamrouters.uk/genealogist.
Marvellous.
I didn't realise you could see my screen share button, so I've now moved it.
If possible, can you send me that privately after the show, so obviously I can put that up via the website, as I've been promising to, but I've got round to it.
No, it's fine, mate. I mean, it's there. I think they've said it'll run till the end of lockdown, so another couple of months before that runs out. If you do take advantage of the offer, it'll auto renew at 40 quid for 4 months, so don't forget to cancel if you don't want it anymore. Well, so they did offer me a deal at 45 quid where I'd get a fiver for everybody who signed up. I decided that I'd forego the extra fiver for everybody who signed up and just let everybody have it at the cheapest I could get them to negotiate down to.
Well, on behalf of everybody who does take that up, thank you very much, Tony.
Pleasure. Hopefully you find it useful, Zadie.
Till I get my furlough pay next week, but I'm sure to do it then. In the meantime,
indeed.
I'll be very busy with LIDAR Finder anyway.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Now, you've also put down, when we were discussing the show, you also wrote about Geo-tech, and that's something I honestly haven't heard of.
Right. Let me screen share that one and then instead then. Where have we hidden it? Right. So Geo-hack is a website that kind of aggregates all your links into one place. So if you go to the URL that you can see on screen now, again, this is linked on that PDF that I mentioned on the Team Rooters website, and then enter your location, latitude, longitude, or the decimal version. You can see here. You can find that, for those who don't know how to find that actual location. You can go to gridreferencefinder.com and put in the location, and then click on the little icon. You'll see latitude and longitude of digital numbers there. So if you enter them here, I've done that just for the sake of example, and then press do it. My demo, let's hope this works. Yes, there you go. So it takes you through to this page, and on the right hand side you can see the area, hopefully of the one you were looking for. But you'll see in the middle there are mapping services, hundreds of them, quite literally. If you scroll further down, you'll also see links to photos, Wikipedia articles, etc., etc. And then further down, you'll see that split down by territory. If you went to Great Britain, for example, and what it's done for this page is it's created all of these bookmarks for these services that now directly are pointing at the area that you've just searched for. So instead of having to go, for example, to the National Library of Scotland and go through their search criteria for the area where you're looking at, you just click on the map link there for National Library of Scotland, and it will take you through to, it will take you through to the same area. So this is the area we were looking at a minute ago, but now you're on the National Library of Scotland site without typing anything in, so it's bookmarked at a location-based level. You can go side by side and do that and get the same piece. So this is the area we're looking at, modern satellite, and here we've got the old 1890 map, whichever one it is. So what you've got on the Geo-hack page, if you bookmark that Geo-hack page, once you've gone into it the first time, you've got a set of bookmarks for almost every map resource, possibly one, that are already aimed at your location, so it'll take you straight through. So what I've done for all of my permissions is create a Geo-hack page for every permission. If I ever want to do any research on side-by-side, for example, rather than go side-by-side, I go on the Geo-hack page, click on side-by-side, and off I go, and I'm already at the right location.
Now that is a good tool indeed.
Yes.
A lot of time saved.
And that's the, I guess that's the main point there. It's a time saver, because if, like me, you like your research and you're not out in the field because either it's too dark or because we're in lockdown, then all of these resources being in one place just makes life a little bit more easier and a little bit more convenient. And like I said, you can see just how many links there are to the area, and every single one of these links, not all of them will be useful, but 80% of them will be. All of them are aimed at the area you've been you put it into. So whatever, there's a megalithic portal, for example, there, which if you click on it, it will take me through to the megalithic prehistoric site information for any site nearby that location.
Yeah.
Again, straight to it to say there's an old well in the area that is mapped and there's pictures of it, etc. So you can see quite quickly how Geo-hacking is really useful if you've got a big mission or lots of missions you need to you want to do a lot of research around it.
We like the megalithic portal. It's very, very in depth in there.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So the Geo-hack is just really a useful and convenient tool for
Absolutely.
collecting all the data for your big maps and other bits and pieces for your information. Not everything's on there, but there's a hell of a lot on there. You will get yourself lost checking out all the different resources for your areas. So, sorry about your weekend, mate. You're going to spend a lot of time researching.
Sorry about the rest of my night.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
I'd dose up with coffee and tramadol shortly, I think, and stay up all night.
Well, you're not sleeping anyway, so. like the
Yeah,
rest of
there
it.
is that. So that's Geo-hack, and yeah, fantastic little hack, to say the least. So I've saved uh, the LIDAR finder, the Geo-hack, and the grid reference finder. So that's basically all I need to keep, isn't it, Tone?
Yeah, more or less. I think that's the majority of the ones you'll need. I think a couple of the LIDAR finder ones aren't on GeoHack, but the National Library of Scotland is, and their side-by-side maps now has a LIDAR layer. So you've got LIDAR at your fingertips as well through the GeoHack. So you've got kind of everything you want, and the historical maps and those sort of things. Tithe maps, unfortunately, are only available via the genealogist online, or if you're looking like you are in Cheshire, your local area may have come online. But always worth checking that before you spend money on any subscription. Just make sure your local area are always put online. That's obviously going to be cheaper.
So, have you found anything else of consequence, or maybe not of consequence, but something that needs to be looked at more in depth when you're at a site on any of your other sites via using LIDAR?
So I found a few old footpaths that aren't on contemporary maps or anything going back on the sort of OS side. So similar to the other one, footpaths that's showing up on permissions where there's no public footpath anymore, no public right of way. Of course, 100 years down the line, there's no real visibility of the footpath anymore. So a couple of those have been productive in terms of coins, lots of sort of George III and those sort of things date back to around the right time for the footpaths. It's been great from that point of view. I've not yet found a Roman villa or anything like that on LiDAR, but I keep hoping that every time I get a new permission, my first thing is LiDAR going to show me something, particularly sexy this time? We're going to get a villa or around there, but we're still waiting. Maybe it's because I'm up north and we don't have much of that up here, but we remain hopeful that eventually LiDAR is going to show me something. Definitely very old, and I'll be there like a shot.
Whereabouts do you actually live, Tone, in Yorkshire?
So I live in Dewsbury, which is near Wakefield, sort of not too far from the sort of M62 over the Pennine to your side, mate. So
I know,
my
yeah.
permissions, because all of my permissions have come from online inquiries or letters. There's also a video about that on PC Detect, the easy way to get permissions. All of my permissions are dotted all over the place because they tend to be where I manage to get an email to someone or use an online form. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the big places it's a sort of Selby York way, so probably about an hour's drive from where I am, but a good productive permission. Certainly don't mind driving when you're finding quality like that. And a 450-acre arable farm, and the permission for the landowner is fantastic as well, and very generous with his land and time. So yeah, mine are all dotted over west, south, north, and a little bit of east Yorkshire.
But not over into the dreaded Lancashire.
I've sort of set it that it's got to be within an hour's drive because that seems reasonable. An hour there, an hour back, 2 hours
Yeah.
detecting. So Lancashire, I'd come over the Pennine. I'm not that much of a white rose snob, mate, but I need to find permission for that.
Yeah, he just actually reminded me there's a location very close to me where when we were doing the VE Day programme the other night, I was talking to Julie and Evan Hart about it. And there's a World War II aircraft crash site within 5-10 minutes of my house, so I want to contact them just to see basically if I can go and visit the site, and other things can be discussed thereafter, but I'd like to discuss it for historical aspect, really, just to see the site itself and see if there are any debris. I know there's up above, not the Snake Pass, the Sheffield to Manchester road.
Yeah.
You know the one.
Yep.
On the hills above there's a hell of a lot of aircraft crashes, which are actually you can walk up to, and they're still in situ on the top of the mountains.
Yeah, well, it's very expensive to clear them, isn't it? There's no real requirement to leave them. So if historical aircraft things are your bag, then plenty of them.
Absolutely, I'd love to. A lot of carcasses, but a lot of walking for the likes of me.
Yes, unfortunately, the walking is part and parcel of our hobby, but not the bit I like.
So we've looked at geohacking, we've looked at LIDAR, we've looked at tithe map information. Is there anything else that we can look at, Tone?
Yeah, so the latest video, or the last video so far on the research front, and I am going to do a LiDAR specific one when I get around to it, so there'll be a more in-depth LiDAR one coming up. But the last one I did is field names, so massive subject, and I use, let me see if I can find where my document's gone. Help if I have the right thing open. Yes, so hopefully you can see it now.
Yeah.
So the book on the right, a new dictionary of English field names, which is the most, I guess, up-to-date resource for field names. So I'll buy that for
Was the
lockdown.
author taking the Michael?
The one on the left, I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? He's dead now apparently, but he wrote the first sort of two comprehensive looks at the sort of English field names. There are others, and you can find them online and things, but yeah, the most apt name for a book I've ever seen. But yeah, so massive subject, as you can probably imagine. And if you go back to what we were talking about on tide maps, where the tide apportionments list field names, those field names are most fields are relatively common, and you'll find, as detailed in the video that's on Geo-tech, you will find the usual sort of upper field, north field, back field, upper rings, things like that. But every now and again, you'll find something that's a little bit sort of more interesting within the field names that you have access to, either through tide information or speaking to your landowners. Landowners are a great source of information for what fields are actually called. And then using these two sort of resources, connecting that up to see what the fields were used for in the past, or potentially used for based on the field name that they've got. And again, a bit like LiDAR, a bit like tide apportionment, it may give you an additional clue for which field to focus your attention on, to go to first, to hammer before moving on to other fields. So I thought I'll make a little 5-minute video on field names. I think the video runs at close to 20 minutes now, because the field names is such an in-depth subject. I thought I'd cover it as well as I could and give people information. So that's all in that video for these two books in particular. If you do find an interest in the field names of your permissions or permission job that you get, these two books are cracking resources to get hold of.
So Luke's currently showing your latest videos,
Okay.
your field name research, your tide map research, and he's currently playing the other one, so didn't get to see in time. But yeah, they're all on there, so it's TC Detect for anybody who wants to go and subscribe and obviously look at them videos. But a fantastic amount of work you've done, Tony. You've really, for people who don't watch this tonight, it's definitely one that they should watch. If not, the content's not all about metal detecting finds and talking metal detecting, then certainly the research, the information that you've given us is, I certainly know I'm going to be a busy boy over the next couple of days.
Well, that's good to hear, and that was kind of the idea behind the video, to sort of share that knowledge and hopefully give people, a different view of their permission, more to look at, maybe help them find the hotspots on their areas and those sort of things.
I'm going to be very busy.
And if anybody has any particularly unusual or field names they want me to look at, contact me via the Team Leaders UK website. I'll happily see whether or not it's in the books and whether or not there's anything interesting to be had by it.
What I know, there's one, Tony, that I'm very interested in. Bell End.
Bell End, yeah, okay. You would be interested in that one, wouldn't you? Bell often means that the shape of the field is like a bell, well, relatively obviously. End usually means it's the end of a piece of common land, maybe an awkward piece of field that's difficult to farm, something like that. As far as I'm aware, there are no fields called bell ends that look like bell ends, but I'm willing to prove you wrong. Maybe the satellite imagery could prove us wrong, mate, and we can find one that looks like a bell end.
Well, you've said dirt box don't many times, so I had to get something in.
Well, you might. I mean, we're English. I mean, I brought up on Carry On movies, so I'll make a double entendre or two.
I've recently found that Amazon Prime is the same sort of setup as Netflix. And do you know what popped up the other night, Tony?
Go on, mate.
Adventures of a Plumber's Mate. And all.
Oh, I saw that as well. Yeah, I've got the Confessions movie on the DVD box set, and I was because the Adventures of a Plumber's Mate and those are the sort of they like the Confessions wannabes at the time. So yeah, I'm definitely putting them on my watch list, mate.
Definitely enough time to watch them. Well, have you got anything else to add, Tony? From
No, I mean, I think from a Team Rooters point of view, we were hoping to be out at the rallies this year, Spring Detectable, etc. And obviously, we know where they are right now. So we're hoping that, assuming it goes ahead, we're hoping a bit of Scotty's event to come. We were talking about having a prototype of their new machine out this year and at Detectable. Not sure how far advanced they are now because of lockdown and their sort of testing, but as soon as we know anything or have anything extra to share, then we'll be sharing it on the website or back on here or whatever. But we're all quite excited to see the new Rubus machine because we've got such a good one already. It's going to be good to see another entrant to the market. We've had a few recently and a couple more coming up, so it's getting very competitive again at the minute. Lots of choice for
tomorrow we've actually got Garrett doing a launch of their Apex, so keep your
eye
I'm
fascinated to see what that looks like.
Yeah, keep your eye on the Archaeology Metal Detecting Magazine Facebook page and our groups, etc. as well. So
I'm assuming it's going to look like a mine lab on the basis that the Vanquish looks a bit like a Garrett.
Yeah, fair dues. Well, next week's guest, we've got a gentleman called Martin Zero coming on. And as if by magic, has it worked? Come on, picture. Oh, no, it hasn't. That's the Team Rooters website. I inboxed Luke to, if he'd kindly pull up to our next week's guest, Martin Zero's YouTube channel. Absolutely fantastic videos. Basically, going into mines, going into all sorts of places, and discussing historical aspects in length. So some fantastic things to look and hear about next week with Martin Zero. Following week, I'm just awaiting confirmation. We do have a big guest that's agreed to come on, and that is Daryl Miklos of the Cooper's Treasure on Discovery Channel fame. He's agreed to come on, but because of his rigorous schedule, we're just obviously waiting for him to say when he's available as opposed to us giving him a list of dates. We have some other big names from the world of TV also coming up in the coming months, but because of their TV schedule, we obviously have to work around them also. So, Tony, I think that's it. Ready to wrap things up. Pleasure as ever, and it's been a very, very, very interesting show for me tonight.
Thanks for having me on, mate. I've really enjoyed it immensely, and I hope people get something useful out of the night show and the videos that are on the channel. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me afterwards.
Yeah, and if you can't find out to contact Tony, give myself or Luke a shout, and we'll point you in the right direction. So thank you very much, Tony. Brilliant research tools that you've come up with. Well, not come up with, you've put together and showed us all. So thank you very much for that. And all the genealogist information I'll get up on the website and all the social media pages in the coming days as well. I'm Dave Sadler, and that was Mr. Kaywood. Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Luke in the background, all the normal people who help and assist and share and do bits and bobs for us. Thank you very much. And we'll see you at 8 o'clock next Thursday. Good night.
And I went over to show them.
Sorry, it's DJ.
I think this is what people or toy shop.